right-hand side and sow a seed to Worship Center Radio, the platform of champions.
From Detroit to the nations, you are listening to the world's number one Christian station, Worship Center Radio, the platform of champions.
God bless you. You've logged onto the Preached Word broadcast. Our program format consists of sound biblical teaching, the unadulterated Word of God, teaching series, invited guests, and interviews. I'm Pastor Constance Harvey, your program host. Now let's go into today's program. Glad to be here yet again on a Thursday evening, and we're excited to be here in the studio, coming into your homes, coming into your dens, radios, your computers, iPhones, whatever you may be using, what device you may be using at this time to log on to the Preached Word broadcast. And I am so excited to be here with my friend and soon to be your friend as well, Attorney George Blackmore. He is such a phenomenal young man, and I'm excited to have him in my life in the avenue or the lane that he is in. And so he's going to be talking with us today about the necessity and the things that are going on in the legal or the law field. And it was really exciting because when we were talking about this, we had a meeting on earlier this week, and when we were talking about what he's doing now, the vein that he's in right now at this current time, he shared so many things with us. And I want to say I'm glad that you're here, Mr. Blackmore, George. I'm glad that you're here, and we want to make you feel welcome. And I'm sure that you are going to prove to be so valuable with the information that you are bringing on this evening, and also the new program that's coming out that's called Fast Counsel, and how that is providing, the legal services for a flat fee for people. And one of the things that really caught my attention is that your goal in this program that we're using now is to educate. That's one of the words that you use with me, and also community. And that just really touched my heart, because I'm aware that in the community, not just only in the Christian community, but in the secular community as well, there are so many people that are afraid to contact a lawyer for various reasons. And you're going to be talking about that and letting us know some of the apprehension that people have about contacting lawyers, and a lot of lack of knowledge concerning attorneys. And the more I thought about this and getting prepared to come here on this evening, I'm going back and forth because I want to make sure I got the right scriptures. I thought about the lawyers that were used during the Bible, the lawyers that were used and the purpose for them. And really, we had the scribes and we had the Pharisees that were doctors of the law or interpreters of the law. And I went and looked up the Greek word for lawyer and also lawyers. And they mean law or regulation, principles ranging from laws as a principle revealed in nature or reason. And then also they were experts. You had your Pharisees that were experts in the law. They didn't always interpret them for the benefit of the individual, but they were experts. And also another word, nomikos in the Greek, which means pertaining to the law. So we had Pharisees, we had doctors that were interpreters of the law. They told you just exactly what the law was supposed to be saying. And so also in the book of Hosea, one of the prophets also said that my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And that got my attention when we were talking the other day. You were saying how many people get themselves in an even greater deficit than they were in the beginning if they had have just gotten a lawyer and just gotten out of it. So we want you to greet the people here that's listening in the radio audience. Before we get started and get into the meat of this, I do want to put the broadcast number out here today. You can call at 248-796-8241. Again, that's 248-796-8241. If you have any questions that we can possibly answer quickly here tonight on the broadcast. God bless you. I'm glad to have you. And once again, tell us what's going on here. What's happening here?
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to talk about what has really become a passion for me. I've been practicing law not as long as a lot of people out there, but I've seen a lot, and I've met with a lot of people trying to be proactive and plan ahead, and there is a great need for just education on various topics, and also to not, force anybody into a situation. I feel like some lawyers are aggressive salespeople, which might be good for them, and they got to make a living too. But the first thought most people have is, well, I can't afford a lawyer.
Okay.
And like you say, they get into a greater deficit. Because there's so many lawyers out there. Where do I start? I know it's too expensive, and that's why I'm trying to launch a program. Very soon here we're going to be live with this program in about a week or two, where it is just flat fee, upfront, transparent pricing, no nonsense, no sales pressure, free consultations, just providing people an avenue where they can get a little bit of guidance and knowledge about what they're going through and what the law is and what might happen, and depending on what court you're in, how you have to file certain things, and whether you could do it by fax or email or hand delivery. There's so many nuances that you talk about, that passage with knowledge, and how you were talking about how that's really what you're taking away, that half the battle is just knowing the basic procedural things in the law, and that's what I'm here for, what other lawyers are here for. And that's why we exist. We exist because we have the knowledge of the law, of the procedures, of everything.
That's one of the Greek words. Interpretation also is the procedures. You have to know the regulations and the procedures as to what needs to be done.
And most of all, I think there are various things that happen in everybody's life. And whether it's marriage, childbirth, purchasing a first home, purchasing a car, there's many things that happen where people are out there to try and take advantage of somebody, whether it's a loan or, things like that, every day there are things that people just don't really think through all the ways sometimes that are majorly important. And I want to make sure that people have the opportunity to at least talk to somebody about it without having to be afraid that they're going to get a bill or that they're getting pushed into, hiring somebody that they might not want to.
I'm noticing, and I think you may agree with me, is that people are relying because they really don't have the knowledge, or they are without the finances, or think that the cost is too high. I have a little bit of money, but I don't have a lot of money. I'm noticing that they're depending a lot on the internet or what friends may tell them.
Yeah, and that is correct. There's you see big companies now like Avvo advertising on television and LegalZoom, and those services are great, and they fill a void that existed before the internet. And the problem is that there's a lot of information out there that's wrong. I regularly answer questions on Avvo and things like that, and any lawyer that's registered can answer a question. And for those of you out there that aren't aware of it, every state has its own different complex set of laws
Okay.
And
Okay.
if you're not licensed in a certain jurisdiction, you may not be getting the right answer from a lawyer on that website. I saw one today about
Okay.
a situation, and it was a lawyer that wasn't licensed in Michigan, and a lawyer from Michigan came in and said that that's not how it is in this state. Had
Okay.
somebody not done that, that person might have read that answer and assumed
Okay.
that information was correct, and
Correct.
it's not.
Okay, that's almost like that WebMD. There's a lot of things when I say, you know what, I know what WebMD is saying, but I'm going to a real doctor.
Yeah.
Now, you may be a real doctor on WebMD, but you're not fixing to diagnose me and give some type of a procedure for me. But that's pretty much the same thing. People are saying, well, I'm a lawyer. I just didn't pass the bar.
That's a fantastic example, and one that resonates with me personally, because every time I go on it, for something a little minor, I feel like I have to go to the ER after reading something on WebMD. I can't wait till the morning to make an appointment with my regular primary care doctor. And, sometimes there's too much information out there, and without the proper training, skill, experience to kind of parse out what's not important and focus on what is, people can get themselves into a lot of trouble. And my goal is to at least provide an option, like those services, but a little more personal, a little more tailored to the unique facts and circumstances of everybody's situation.
Now, I learned something from you on Monday when we met together Monday. I've always been under the impression that a public defender is a free lawyer. I've always been under the impression that, because I hear the Miranda when it's read to, you have the right to attorney. If you can't afford one will be provided for you. So I've always thought that a public defender was a free defender, and that they don't do really good jobs because they're not getting paid. But you let me know on Monday that I wasn't correct in my assumption.
That is true. I mean, they are free for people who cannot afford a lawyer. They get paid, by the county, the state, however the respective jurisdiction handles it. I can't speak to how everybody does it, because every court system is different with how they handle their budgets and hire. Some major municipalities out there have public defenders that are full-time. That's all they do. Bigger cities, New York, Boston, all cities like that have a public defender program where these people are paid by the state government just to defend these people. Other smaller cities and jurisdictions have just a list where the judge might appoint a practicing attorney in the community to come in and defend that person. But you do always have a right to a lawyer. However, even if you say, well, I want a public defender, some courts, if you don't qualify, if you make too much money and you don't qualify for the free assistance, you might have to pay that back as part of court costs and charges like that. And that isn't really explained to people. And the system itself needs more public defenders. I mean, don't get me wrong, it really does. But there's a balance between, how do these lawyers get paid, and how does the government afford to pay these people? So they're not always free. They might be free up front, but if you do get convicted or you take a plea or something like that, the court may assess costs to you that include the cost of that public defender's time. Okay, then that was eye-opening to me. I want to give you an opportunity to call in. You may have a question for Mr. Blackmore here, George, at 248-796-8241. Now, Juan just got married on Saturday, so do you have any questions right now, Juan? While we have the attorney, I do know that you got to get those licenses in immediately. Amen. But yeah, it's already done. I remember. Okay.
Switch over. I have some. I have to change my will from my first wife to my new wife. How do I?
Okay, Juan, our tech here in the studio, has a question that he has on the table for George here. It's about will and testaments. He says he has to switch his will. He's remarried now, and he needs to be able to switch that will, change his will, where his first wife, well, may have been beneficiary, and now to the second wife, to the new wife. How is that done, Mr. McMahon?
Well, it could be as simple as crossing your ex-wife's name out and writing your new wife's name on it and signing next to that change and dating it. It could be as difficult as saying, you know what, I just want to get rid of this will and do a whole new one. A lot of things have changed, and you know, we need to account for that. And that's what most people don't do. They, you know, create a will, and then they put in a, you know, safe deposit box or a fireproof safe or something like that, and you know, they live for 25, 30 more years and, you know, accumulate all these other assets, and you know, now you might have a problem. Now your probatable assets are high, which, you know, if you pass away, in Michigan at least, every jurisdiction is different, and I want to make that clear when I'm talking. I'm a Michigan licensed attorney, and most of my examples will, you know, really rest on my knowledge of Michigan law. Please consult with your own attorney in your own state, you know, before you take anything I say as legal. So your probatable estate is you know, in Michigan you have to pay a fee on the size of the assets of your estate. So the more assets you have,
Yes.
it's not an estate tax. It is it's a administrative fee. It's called an inventory fee. So you know, if you know, win the lottery and you buy a nice house, and you know, you just have a will and that house is worth, you know, $500,000-$600,000, you're going to be paying a lot more in the inventory fee in Michigan as if you would have transferred that house to a revocable living trust. So it's really important that every time a major life decision happens, that you make sure that your plan is in place. You know, I've used the example before of, you know, if you're going away for a period of time and you know, say to somebody, hey, can you watch my dog? You know, or can you watch my house? Can you do these things? You're going to give them some information about what needs to be done, and you know, how where the dog food is, and what if he runs out, you know, a specific type of food that this dog needs, and you know, things like that. And you know, you just don't go through life and have, you know, because we're all going to get that call from God one day where it's time to come home.
Right.
And you know, part of our job here, at least in my opinion, is while we're living, is to, you know, create a legacy and to, you know, make sure that our spirit and the things we care about live on, you know, through the generations, and really build, you know, something great for your family. And if you choose to do nothing, the laws of your state are going to govern how your property is distributed. It might all go to your children, as long, you know, and it will. If you don't have a will, your surviving spouse only gets a percentage of your estate.
Right.
The rest of it will go to your children, and maybe your children aren't capable of handling, you know, that amount of money if you have it, or you know, maybe they don't want to deal with selling a house and things like that, or you know, maybe you had minor children when you passed away under the age of 18, and you know, now all of a sudden, you know, the court is deciding where the kids go,
Where the kids are going.
and a will is the only document that can, you know, name a guardian without having to go through a court proceeding in the state of Michigan. So there's so many things that, you know, people write a will and they forget about it. At least you're thinking right. I mean,
Right.
something just happened. I really need to do this, but what do most people say? You know, I'll get to that. I got other things to worry
Right.
about. And
Right.
you never know how things are going to go in life.
Right. So that's a very good question. I'm hoping that that helped someone that's listening there tonight. Call us at 248-796-8241. There was something that popped in my mind while you were talking about the legacy and leaving an inheritance. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children, his children's children. Amen. So that means he leaves all this lined up. And if you go through the scriptures, the patriots, they blessed those ones as they go. And it was legal and it was binding. You receive a double portion because you're the oldest one, the eldest child. You receive this and you receive this and you receive this. It says even Jacob stood up on his cane and blessed the children of Joseph. So this is all the scripturally foundation. And as you say, the only two things that are certain is taxes and death in this world. Ben Franklin said they only have two things that are certain, and that's taxes and death. It's taxes and death. Now, I want you to tell me a little bit. We have a little bit of time left. Again, the number is 248-796-8241. I'm going to give you some space here to talk about fast counsel.
I really appreciate that.
I'm going to
And
give you some space, and also I want you to give a little information where someone who's listening, they may not call today, but if they'll know the number to call, and they can always call the station and get a number or to contact me to get a number. But if you can give them a telephone number, an address, that where they'll be able to call you, they'll be able to contact you. And I do want to say that I've used Mr. Blackmore so many times, and I have been so grateful that I have the freedom to be able to call him, and if he's free or not free, he'll call me back. If he's free, he'll answer a question. I said, George, so and so, and this is going on, and he's able to give me some directions, that are valid and that I'm confident with, and have been able to move on in certain situations, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to tell this little story, and then I'm going to get out of the way and let you do the fast counsel. Why this is so important, especially to the body of Christ. As we said earlier, that over in the book of Titus, that Paul said, bring Zenas, the lawyer, with you, and Apollos. And I want them to come diligently, come fast. I mean, really, don't detour, just come right away. Why? Because he was in jail. Everybody that knows the life of Paul know that he was arrested. He was under house arrest for a couple of years. He got out, and the next time he got arrested again, about 5 years later, he did get out. He was executed. He was found guilty, and he was executed. His head was lifted from his body. But one time I had a situation where I had been summoned to court, and I needed to file a motion. And I asked the attorney about it, and a big attorney out in Southfield, and this was way down in Riverview. It's quite a distance between Southfield and Riverview. And so he told me, he said, listen, he said, if I go way down there, if I go there, he said, it's going to cost you $500 to file this motion. And I'm like, I didn't have $500. I said, $500 to file a motion? He said, yeah. He said, but let me tell you what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to tell you step by step what you need to do. And you can go down, file the motion, and you'll get a court date. He said, so I did. I followed his directions. I mean, to the letter. Dotted every I, crossed every T, because that's all I knew to do. He gave me the direct directions what to do. Go to the courthouse, tell them you're going to file a motion. And it wasn't but a few dollars to file a motion and whatever it was. So I was really happy with that. And then they sent me a letter to let me know when the court date was. Well, this is what happened. The opposing attorney got ill. He got ill, and there is a such thing as courtesy and between attorneys. Sometimes you have to cancel appointment because your opposing attorney has a doctor's appointment, or I have to leave town or something like that, and you cancel it and you come back again. Well, he called me. The opposing attorney called me and he said, Miss Harvey, I'm ill, and he was definitely ill. He said, I'm ill, and we need to. I want to be able to reschedule this appointment. And I was terrified because I didn't know what to do. If he rescheduled and he canceled it, what am I supposed to do? I didn't know what to do. So I told him no. And he came to court anyway, and he was so sick. I felt so bad for him, but I didn't know what to do. And I only knew just what the lawyer had given me to do. And if I knew if I messed up, if I got off track from what he had already given me, because he didn't tell me anything about if the man canceled, so I didn't know what to do. So I told him no, and he had to come to court anyway that day, and I felt so bad for him because he literally was ill, but I won my case. Come on, tell us about speak, take your time, tell us about Fast Track, tell us about the things that you wanted to share with us on today. We still have about 20 minutes or so ago, and I want the people to get a good understanding and a good feel for you on today.
All right. Well, as I alluded to earlier, I mean, there's a void, I believe, of information that really pertains to a person's specific situation. We talked about the internet. We talked about people trying to, search around and find things because they're afraid to, make the phone call or, see a lawyer and pay the fee. And I'm always somebody that believes that a lawyer's job is really to be involved in the community and to be a resource to people in the community for their problems. And the state of the world now with the internet, the email, websites, all of that, there's a lot of different ways to be available to somebody. And Fast Counsel is aiming to really put the legal services industry into the 21st century, and that is, as much online communication, whether it's Skype in and speak directly to an attorney, or call our hotline and have somebody to speak to, and communicate back and forth without having to travel to an office, in 20, 30 miles from your house, because this is the only attorney that can take your case for the amount of money that you have to pay. We're aiming to deliver legal services to the people that really need them most, and that's people who are charged with crimes, who are going through a divorce or a child custody dispute, people who need help with end of life planning, whether it's patient advocate designations, do not resuscitate orders, wills, financial powers of attorney. We're opening the market for people to come in and say, I need this, but I want to pay a fair price. Most lawyers still do hourly billing. That's just not fair to people. The way the majority of Americans live, they can't afford to get a bill every month from a lawyer, that charges $200, $250 an hour. Most people can't afford to get services charged to them by the hour because their pay fluctuates. Fast Counsel wants to, take care of this problem by saying, these are flat fees. You will pay an upfront fee to cover the attorney's time and drafting all the documents, or filing motions, or filing your case, or things like that. And then every month that your case is active, you pay a low fee that covers our support services that stay in contact with you, check in with you, make sure everything's going okay. I had a retail background before I decided to take the plunge into becoming a lawyer, and the most important thing is the service that people get needs to be top-notch. And I don't believe that I've done a good job, even if I win someone's case, unless they say, I really loved working with you. I'm told we have a caller, so I'm really excited. First time. Hello?
Hello.
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 Hello. Go ahead.
I have a question for the attorney. I have a land contract on my property, the home that I'm living in, and I'm behind on my payments. I'm behind on my taxes. What legal recourse do I have?
Well, that's really going to depend on what the land contract says about who's responsible for paying taxes, when.
I'm responsible for paying the taxes, and I'm responsible for making the payments on time.
Okay.
And I'm responsible for the insurance, keeping the house insured.
Yes. And generally, if you are behind on a land contract, it's treated similar to what happens when you fall behind on a mortgage. The person who you entered into the land contract with has some remedies. In Michigan, there's two different things that can happen to somebody who is behind in their land contract payments. Their land contract can be forfeited, which means that the person who gave you the land contract can give you notice on how much you're behind and what you need to do to make up for it. And you get a specific period of time for that to happen, for you to cure your default, as they call it. And after that, they can start an action which is similar to landlord-tenant eviction action. It happens relatively quick. The land contract is, forfeited, and they ask the court to say, "Give me the property back so I can, do what I want with it and get this person out of there." In that situation, you're only responsible for paying what you essentially owe. The second option, that somebody who has a land contract with a person who is behind in their payments, is to foreclose it. That is essentially like what happens with a mortgage. The different situation with that is that it's a judicial process. That means it's a lawsuit. It goes in front of a judge. It's subject to all of the makings of a real lawsuit. The forfeiture action is more of what they call a summary proceeding. It's quicker. A foreclosure lasts, about as long as a regular lawsuit, and the owner of the home can, be a little more, I guess I can say, pushy about the amount of money they're owed. They can ask the court to award them the entire balance that's left on the land contract. So I always advise people, solve these problems up front. If you know you're behind and you know that you can make it up, and you have a plan to do that, then make contact with the person that owns the home and say, "Look, let's get this taken care of." The longer you wait, the harder it is to really solve your problem and get out of the situation. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
I know that
Thank
was
you so
pretty
much.
detailed, and like most things in the law, it isn't as simple as, a yes or no answer or a black and white situation.
Would you please give your phone number on the air, please?
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
Yeah. Again, if you're in the state of Michigan, I am licensed there. I'm licensed in no other state. You can give me a call directly at area code 248-845-8594. And anytime, I can answer. If you don't, just leave a message, and I will return your call as soon as I get a chance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Really, I think the important takeaway that I want everyone to have here is that please, at a minimum, get a will, powers of attorney, medical directives, because you never know when things like a car accident that might put you in a coma or leave you unable to pay bills will happen. And if you don't have the right documents, your bank won't allow anybody to withdraw money. The hospital won't honor wishes of somebody that says, I don't want a feeding tube. I mean, if you remember the Terry Schiavo case back in the mid to late 90s, there was, that was national news over, somebody, a husband saying, "I really know what she wanted," and parents saying, "No, you didn't." And really, you could, if you had a, patient advocate or some type of medical directive, we'd know exactly what you wanted in life. And it's important that, whether you think you don't have any assets or you can't leave money to somebody, you still need to put your final wishes into writing so that you could do as much as you can to, leave a legacy. Even if that's, I want to leave, all my money to the church. You can do that. even if it's $100, that's okay. It's better than nothing, and it, allows you, your family, to have a little peace of mind and say, this is what she or he really wanted, and we're glad that they took the time to clear everything out so families don't have to fight and get torn apart because nobody thought they were going to die. And it's unfortunate that, people pass away, but it's something that's going to happen to everybody. And without proper planning, I've seen families get destroyed. And, over, mom said I could have this. No, she said I could have, that. And brothers and sisters fight. They never talk to each other again. That's not how good people should be acting. So, I really just urge everybody out there to not be afraid to pick up the phone, call somebody you trust who actually knows the law and isn't some random person on the internet and isn't your friend's brother's uncle who went through the same situation, because it's not always the same situation. Like, every person is different. Every situation is different.
Just as different as fingerprints. Everyone has a different fingerprint, and people have a tendency to say, well, that happened to me. And I found out that going to court is like going into a fight. You don't know who's coming out the winner.
The best example I can give of something that can absolutely ruin someone's life if they don't get the right advice is in Michigan, drinking and driving, like every other state, is a crime. Okay. It's not tolerated. Some state or some counties and municipalities within Michigan handle things differently. Depending on the municipality that pulled you over, your penalty might be different had that occurred in a different city or a different township or a different county. Okay. And you can't rely on somebody saying, oh, well, I got 4 months probation and it was no big deal, when some people get put in jail for 7 days, depending on what court they're in and what judge they're in front of. And the only way to really know that is to talk to somebody who knows the courts in your area, or the judges and things like that, because just like people are different, judges are different. Is it fair? Not always. And, unfortunately, people have their biases. People have, and people are complicated. And, you can't put something that could, make you lose your driver's license, which in turn makes you lose your job and things like that. I mean, it puts so much in jeopardy, all because, you listened to a friend and didn't call somebody that really knew what was happening. And look, there's plenty of people out there that, make mistakes, and they shouldn't be punished, severely for making one other mistake, and that's not seeking out competent advice.
Right. You were talking, and I'm sitting here smiling to myself. They have a term called a jailhouse lawyer, and most of the ones that they're referring to are in jail. Like, why would you take something that this person that's in jail as etched in stone, and as something that is binding or to move out on or to act on, when they're serving time them own selves? They won't even keep their own selves out of trouble, and that's why they have a nickname, Judge House Lawyer. I've always thought that was a oxymoron. Like, they're in jail, so how can they successfully defend you? And defend you. And a lot of people like myself, most of what they know by the law is what they watched on television, like Matlock. I love Matlock, and I'm always ashamed to say that the majority of the law sense that I have comes from Matlock's television show. So did you give I hope that they're understanding a real good understanding of fast counsel and how that program is working and how it's going to be established and what they need to do to get those type of services for themselves. And the one thing that really we shared earlier, which we don't have to do that here. You'll talk with your clients as they call you. But I was really impressed with the affordability that you made a list of the rates that we did go over and talk about on Monday, how that this is reachable and affordable to anyone that would need the advice and of a counsel, of a counselor at this particular time, of a lawyer. And the consultation is also affordable, being free, and then moving on in whatever area that they need to move on. We still have a little time left here that you can call us at 248-796-8241. 248-796-8241. And I don't feel like that, I know this and everything they're talking about, and I can represent myself. I think I heard it said once before that he that represents himself has a fool for a client.
That is
Am I right?
that is true. And I mean, if you look at cases of lawyers being charged with crimes or being sued civilly, they don't represent themselves. And you would think a person that knows the law and represents people for a living would be capable of representing themselves. But the fact of the matter is there's, you have to remain objective as a lawyer. And if you think that, you're being railroaded or, the system isn't fair, that's great. That's your opinion. But you need somebody to come in and look at everything with a fresh set of eyes and say, this piece of evidence doesn't look too good. We need to, you need to explain this in a fair, accurate description of what really happened. And, I like to say, everybody gets their day in court, but you got to make the most of it. Just because you get your day doesn't mean that it's going to go well for you. You have to prepare, and you have to know what you're talking about. You have to anticipate what the other side is going to say. You're going to have to anticipate what a jury or judge might think of how you're saying something or the tone that something comes off in. And I mean, there are multiple workshops that you can attend as a lawyer about how to pick a jury and how to deliver an opening statement and psychology classes of people. And trial practice is, it's a science. It's a little bit of a show. It's, there are some theatrics to it. And, the best trial attorneys, if you watch them in court, I mean, they're diligent and they're prepared. And the average, because that's what they do for a living. The average person has a real job that they go to for 40, 50, 60 hours a week. They come home to their family. They, have children or, friends, whatever they're doing. There's so many things happening in their life that it's going to be hard for you to really put the time in that you need in order to be prepared. It's a lawsuit is a fight. And, if the other side is trained more than you, chances are you're going to lose. There are people that win, and good for them. They absolutely, did what they needed to do without a lawyer, and that's okay. Not everybody needs one. I'll be the first person to say, not everybody needs a lawyer. I will tell people you can do this on your own, and I will help you. Now, unlike your situation, where you didn't know the procedural things.
I did not know the procedure. I didn't know the principle behind the reasoning or any of that. I didn't know. I just didn't know. And the attorney, he just gave me, because I couldn't afford an attorney, he gave me step by step as to what I could do to file this motion on my own way down in Riverview.
Yep.
And once I got past the information that he gave me, I just didn't know what to do.
And, it's as simple as I don't know where to go when I get to court. I don't know I didn't know I was supposed to check in with the clerk. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. All that stuff is, important. It helps ease a little bit of anxiety and nervousness when you just know something and you're not worried about, certain things that aren't material to your case. And, I just really want people to understand that there's, there are good lawyers out there who aren't just trying to take their money and give them
Right.
terrible advice or put them in a worse situation. I care about, how people talk about me. Maybe that makes me a little selfish, but my job is really based on reputation.
Right.
And I mean, it's not just you, it's all my clients, call me with questions. I'll get an email from one, hey, I just had a thought about this. And, I don't mind helping people out if I can. If, there's a situation where I say, I think we might be getting into something a little bit more complicated, and, you need to come in and we need to really, have a retainer agreement, and you need to pay for this service, then we do that. But if it's a, one-off question and, I'm comfortable answering it, then my client gets that advice right there. And they don't get a bill in the mail because it's not fair. People deserve to have the ability to go through the day-to-day, struggles of life without always having to be nickel and dime from people.
Right. I want to say this. We have just a very few minutes left, but I do want to say this. When you receive some type of notice or some a letter from a court, from an attorney, some kind of legal notification, answer it. Respond to it. Just don't throw it to the side and say, well, as if you don't respond to it, that it will go away. That will go away. In my much, much, much younger days, I did experience this. That's why I'm saying this. And I really didn't know what it was, just exactly what it was for. And I didn't appear on the date or whatever was there. And a default judgment was entered in against me. Now, the Lord just blessed me, and that grace was extended to me, because when I got the rest of the procedures and things together, found out that I had lost without even showing up. Because I didn't show up, something was entered in against me. And then I was able to go back I was just fortunate enough to be able to go back and backtrack, and people were willing to work with me to unwind the situation, to unwind the situation. And it dealt with the co-signing situation. It dealt with it's not, it's not mine. It was, I just co-signed for them to get such and such and such and such. Well, they defaulted, and then it came down on me, and then I was, served something, and then I didn't respond to it, and because I really didn't know, and I wind up with this and this and this. But I, mercifully, I was fortunate enough to be able to work that situation out and come out, pretty well on top. But it doesn't always work like that. It doesn't always work like that, that you find that kind of favor. And I'm finding that a lot of times people, if I don't respond to this, that it'll just go away. If I don't do anything, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to respond when you receive some type of letter. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. There's, time periods. They're very short. Even if you set it out, you get something on Monday, certified mail, and it's, summons, you're being sued. Here's the information. You have a specific amount of time. And if you set it aside and say, well, I'll get to that on the weekend, you've taken away a week of time that could have been spent, making a call to the opposing lawyer and telling them you have the wrong person, or finding a lawyer that can, take care of this. Because I've had people come to me, and I'm getting sued. I have a court date tomorrow at 8 a.m. And it's like, well, this is a problem. Why did you wait so long? And they're like, well, I didn't think it was ever going to get to this point. And unfortunately for them, it did. Once the lawsuit is put into the system, it's very hard to get it.
Hello. We have someone calling on the line. Yes, may we help you? Yes. Listen, God bless you. We thank you for calling in. George, this has been most informative. We do have another person on the line here. We'll take them as soon as we go off the air. But I want you to give me that telephone number one more time. Speak it to us over the air.
All right. That's going to be 248-845-8594. And hopefully I'll be able to, come back with a little bit more directed message. So I encourage everybody to post, questions, things like that on Facebook, to the Worship Center Radio's Facebook page, and I'll try to respond to everybody I can.
Sounds great. We thank you. We appreciate you for being here. God bless you. I love you. Our time is up. It goes so fast, especially when you're having fun. God bless you. Listening to the Preached Word broadcast. Fellowship with us at the Rose of Sharon Christian Assembly, located at 19337 Conant, Detroit, Michigan, between East 7 Mile Road and East Outer Drive. Fellowship with us and our Sunday worship service at 11 a.m. Contact us at 313-570-8305 or email any special prayer request to revcdharvey@yahoo.com. Visit our webpage at worshipcenterradio.net. Thanks again for listening. Tune in again next Thursday at 8 p.m. and I'll see you in the next worship service at 11 a.m. at the Rose of Sharon Christian Assembly. God bless you.